Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the City of Bowling Green regular meeting, City Hall, February 21st, 2023 at 4:30 p.m. We'll start out. This is Commissioner Carlos Bailey's turn for invocation or pledge allegiance.
Today, I'm privileged to actually have my brother-in-law, who I've known since I was 13 years old, Minister Darrell Wingo, is going to give the invocation today.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ, Lord God, we come first and foremost to say thank you, Jesus. We thank you for your goodness, for your mercy, for your loving kindness. Lord, we know that it is you who is the giver and the sustainer of life. Lord, we can do nothing without you. It is in you that we live and move and have our being. Lord, we pray that you would forgive us of our sins. And Lord God, we thank you for this elected officials that we have before us, Lord. Lord, we thank you for Mayor Alcott, for the Board of Commissioners, Commissioner Bailey, Beasley Brown, Hill, Perigin, as well as the City Manager, Meisel, the City Attorney, Hightower, the City Clerk, Jackson. We thank you for all of the staff. Lord, we thank you for the first responders. We thank you for all of the city departments, all of the workers. And Lord, as they prepare to go forth with the business of the city of Bowling Green, Lord, I pray that you would lead and guide each and every one of them. Oh God, that they may acknowledge you. Oh God, all of the decisions that they make on tonight, we pray that it would bring glory and honor to your name. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
I ask everyone to turn to the flag as we do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Carlos. Thank you, Minister Darrell Wingo. Appreciate your words and your prayer. All right, we'll start out with our roll call. This is Jackson.
Commissioner Beasley Brown. Here. Commissioner Hill. Here. Commissioner Perigin. Here. Commissioner Bailey.
Here.
Mayor Alcott.
Here. Mr. Meisel, do you have any comments at this time?
Just a couple, Mayor. First, those in the audience wanting to speak during the public comment section, please sign the register log in the back corner of the room. And then secondly, there'll be a need for a closed session. I'd like Ashley to read the reason.
Pursuant to KRS 618101B, for the purpose of deliberations on the future acquisition of real property by the city, as publicity would likely affect the value of the specific piece of property to be acquired by the city.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Commissioner Hill, second by Commissioner Bailey. Roll call, please.
Beasley Brown.
Yes.
Hill.
Yes.
Perigin.
Yes.
Bailey.
Yes.
Alcott.
Yes. All right. Anything else, Mr. Meisel?
That's it, Mayor. Thank you.
All right. Our first item is approval of minutes from regular meeting February 7th, 2023.
So moved. Second.
Okay. Moved by Commissioner Hill, second by Commissioner Perigin. Roll call, please.
Beasley Brown.
Yes.
Hill.
Yes.
Perigin.
Yep.
Bailey.
Yes.
Alcott.
Yes. Municipal order number 2023-25.
Municipal order approving the promotion of Joshua Miller to the position of crew leader in the Public Works Department.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Commissioner Beasley Brown, second by Commissioner Hill. Mr. Meisel.
We have opening in Public Works for crew leader, and I'd like to ask Lori Gray, our HR manager, to come up and make a recommendation for this position. Lori?
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. It is my pleasure to recommend the promotion of Joshua Miller to the position of crew leader in the Operations Division of Public Works. We did internal applications only for this position. We have 4 internal candidates, and the decision was made to offer the position to Joshua Miller. He is he is currently serving the city in the position of Operations Maintenance Technician 3. He has acquired many certifications over his years of employment. He has an abundance of knowledge on drainage procedures and equipment, and he enjoys training coworkers on equipment, and coworkers look to him for the knowledge and experience he possesses. And Josh is here with us this evening.
Thank you very much, Lori. Joshua, you want to stand up? Welcome to our meeting tonight, and I'll say premature congratulations to you. Thank you for serving. All right, roll call, please.
Beasley Brown.
Yes.
Hill.
Yes.
Perigin.
Yes.
Bailey.
Yes.
Alcott.
Yes, congratulations, Joshua. Municipal Order Number 2023-26.
Municipal order approving the probationary appointment of Shatradion Boyd to the position of Parks Facility Maintainer 1 in the Parks and Recreation Department.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Hill, second by Commissioner Bailey. Mr. Mizel.
Due to a resignation, we have this opening in Parks and Rec, and I'd like to ask Aaron Holsey, our HR Director, to come up and make the recommendation.
Great, good afternoon. So we had a resignation in the cemetery, and to fill this position, we actually did not reopen a new application. We had done a process in the fall. We had interviewed 11 applicants, and we had a couple of good candidates. We ended up hiring one. He is still with us. And then a second runner-up was Shaitavian Boyd, and we ended up offering him a permanent part-time position within Parks, but in the Golf Division. And as soon as this full-time position came open, he said that he was interested. And so we decided just to go forward with a promotion instead of reopening it up. So good success story again of part-time turning into a full-time role. He is with us tonight. Sai, if you want to stand up, please let me know if you have any questions.
All right, well, let's make this official. Roll call, please.
Beasley Brown.
Yes.
Hill.
Yes.
Perigin.
Yes.
Bailey.
Yes.
Alcott.
Yes, congratulations, Mr. Boyd. Municipal Order Number 2023-27.
Municipal order authorizing and accepting bid number 2023-31 for aquatic chemicals from Madison Swimming Pools LLC of Goodlettsville, Tennessee, in the amount of $96,449.25.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Commissioner Beasley Brown, second by Commissioner Bailey. Mr. Mizel.
I know it's February, but spring and summer are just around the corner. Longer days, and we have some pools and play areas in the water that we have to treat the water on to keep people from getting sick. And so before you tonight is a bid for some chlorination for 3 areas. It's the Russell Sims Aquatic Center, our Limestone Springs out of Lampkin Park, and then, of course, down here, downtown Fountain Square, our fountain there. Went out for bids for this, and lowest bid was Madison Swimming Pools out of Goodlettsville, Tennessee, $96,449. We intend to spread this out over 2 fiscal years. We'll buy a little bit of it before June 30th, and then whatever we need to finish off the season, we'll buy after July 1. Brent Belcher is here, can answer any of your questions on chemicals for our pools and water fountains and everything else.
Okay, Commissioners, no questions at this time. Roll call, please.
Beasley Brown.
Yes.
Hill.
Yes.
Perigin.
Yes.
Bailey.
Yes.
Alcott.
Yes. Municipal Order Number 2023-28.
Municipal order authorizing and accepting bid number 2023-32 for mowing services from Affordable Lawn Care and Pressure Washing LLC of Bowling Green, Kentucky, Bluegrass Landscaping LLC of Bowling Green, Kentucky, and Hope House Ministries of Bowling Green, Kentucky for a total amount not to exceed $452,386.92.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Hill, second by Commissioner Bailey. Mr. Mizel.
So this looks like a lot of mowing, and it is. It's a big number, but I'm going to try to break it down for you. We broke this down between, this is a combination bid between Parks and Public Works. Public Works is responsible for, maintaining a lot of the right-of-ways, and so we did like a 5 or 6 part bid here. And so under Part A, it's described in your packets. We have approximately almost 40 acres of city street right-of-ways, city-owned lots, drainage areas that we have to maintain and mow. We decided it's better for us to outsource that, so we began that a year or so ago. We went out for bid for that piece, and including this bid, and we are going to recommend awarding that to Affordable Lawn Care for a total cost up to, this is not to exceed, $141,214. The next pieces involve areas at the Parks and Recs responsibilities. Item or Schedule B, actually, let me back up. Yeah, Schedule B included Ogden Park, Lee Square, Shake Rag, Pioneer Cemetery, Roland Bland, and the Coomer Little Recreation Centers. C was West End Park, Greenways, behind Kroger, Mount Moriah Cemetery, Weldon Pete, grounds at Heartland and Boat Landing Park. And then Schedule D included Parker Bennett Community Center grounds, Hobson Grove Ball Fields, Reservoir Hill, Covington Woods, H.B. Thomas Park, Crossings Park, and then Schedule E was Pettigo Park. Included also was Schedule F, which includes Cemetery number 1 and Weed Eating number 2. And so there were 5 bidders on all of that. And we decided to, Hope House came in at the lowest bid for the Schedule B, which was, again, Ogden Park, Lee Square, Shake Rag, Pioneer Cemetery, Roland Bland, and then Coomer Little Recreation Grounds. They got that bid, which will total up to $43,000 for the year, not to exceed. And then all of the rest of it, C through F, we're recommending that be awarded to Bluegrass Landscape, total amount of $268,170, not to exceed again. These will go to 3 different companies. We feel like breaking this apart gave us the best options on picking the lowest cost, and so there you have it, three awards to 3 different sections, Public Works and Parks combined. Again, Brent Belcher's here, can answer any questions. I'll try to answer any questions on the Public Works side.
Appreciate your rundown, Mr. Meisel. Commissioners, questions at this time? All right. Looks like a lot of hard work went into this.
We can't do this any cheaper than this with our workforce and still do everything else we've got to do out there, so.
All right. Roll call, please.
Beasley Brown.
Yes.
Hill.
Yes.
Perigin.
Yes.
Bailey.
Yes.
Alcott.
Yes. Municipal order number 2023-29.
Municipal order authorizing and approving bid number 2023-11 for professional services for Cave Mill Road corridor improvements with American Engineers, Inc. of Glasgow, Kentucky, in an amount not to exceed $1,209,873. And approving the Cave Mill Road project agreement between the city and Warren County, and further authorizing the city law department to negotiate the acquisition of properties necessary for the project, and authorizing appropriate city officials to execute deeds, easements, and other documents related to the land acquisition necessary for the project.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Commissioner Beasley Brown, second by Commissioner Hill. Mr. Meisel.
So as Kyle told me, this is a 3-in-1. There's a lot of stuff in this this municipal order. First is we got the $1,860,000 from the state to take on design and hopefully some of right-of-way acquisition for Cave Mill Road. It's about a 1-mile stretch as you're leaving the mall, as you come up through there by Chandler Park, from that point to where it divides between Dishman and the old Cave Mill Road. This is going to be widening, be 3-lane with a turning lane in the middle, curb and gutter, 8-foot sidewalk. And so we went out for bid for design, and we are recommending American Engineers to do the design work on this. They'll also get into right-of-way acquisition once they identify the properties that we need. And then secondly, this is to also approve the agreement with Warren County. This road goes Warren County, City, County, City. It's a hodgepodge of who's what and where. So they have agreed to turn this project over to us to manage and get it done, but they'll still maintain their parts once it's said and done with long-term maintenance. And then finally, the last piece is we're going to authorize Hillary and the law department to work with American Engineers and Design to acquire any right-of-way that we need, get started on that as soon as we can with any monies left over above the $1.2 million for design. We have up to $1,860,000 to spend, and we're going to take that as far as we can on this project. Kyle Hunt, our Assistant City Engineer, is here with us tonight. He's worked on this very, very hard and put together a good memo for you, and can answer any questions you might have on this project. But we're excited. This will really help alleviate some traffic congestion along that road with left turns, and think it's going to be a really good project for that area that the state's paying for.
Commissioners? Sure.
I just was wondering if you could give the public just a little bit more details about how it's going to improve, leading up to Scottsville Road, the mall area, and then further on down in connection with Small House Road. I know it's just so many folks are traveling on that, and it's just been a headache for so many people. So what can they look forward to, and then maybe what's the timeline for when they can expect it to be finished?
Sure. So, as Mr. Meisel said, the goal of the project is to widen Cave Mill Road between the old Cave Mill Road and Dish Mill Lane intersection, up to in front of the mall past Grider Pond. We're looking to potentially add another lane between the mall and Scottsville Road to alleviate some of that traffic congestion. We also want to add a 8-foot multi-use path along the corridor as well. So once we're finished, it will look similar to the improvements that we've made along Small House Road. So we're very excited about that. As far as timeline, we are fortunate in that this initial round of funding that we received from the state is going toward design. However, future rounds of money for additional property acquisition, utility, relocation, and construction won't be for the next several years. So if the funding is laid out as it's shown in the state highway plan, it will probably be 4 or 5 years at least until these improvements are finished.
Thank you so much.
Okay? You're welcome.
Thank you, Kyle. Commissioners, any other questions? None at this time. Roll call, please.
Beasley Brown.
Yes.
Hill.
Yes.
Perigin.
Yes.
Bailey.
Yes.
Alcott.
Yes. Municipal order number 2023-30.
Municipal order authorizing and accepting bid number 2023-24 for Ashley Circle intersection improvements through non-competitive negotiations with Scotty's Contracting and Stone, LLC of Bowling Green, Kentucky, in an amount not to exceed $1,142,395.86.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Commissioner Perigin, second by Commissioner Hill. Mr. Meisel.
So if you all will recall, during the budget, capital improvement project budget, you all approved to do some intersection improvements along Scottsville Road at Ashley Circle. So the Ford's Furniture intersection and then the Double Dogs and Truist intersection. What we're looking at doing is widening those, creating more lanes for turning, different directions. And we're going to, this is a city project. We went out for bid, and we got one bid from Scotty's Contracting that was over budget. And so we went back to the negotiation table and was able to negotiate that down to the $1,142,000 number that you see in your packets. We believe that both sides will be impacted at the Double Dogs, Truist Bank intersection. And then down at the other intersection by Ford's Furniture, we're only looking at doing the Ford's Furniture side and nothing to the Steak and Shake side. So that's already a pretty wide thoroughfare through that on Wilkinson Trace. But we are going to improve the Ashley Circle side on Ford's Furniture. Again, Cal Hunt is here, Assistant City Engineer, worked on this as well. Got Scotty's to come down on the price, about a little over $200,000, so we're very pleased with that. And special thanks to Chris Higgins at Scotty's for working with us and getting us this price where we can afford it and get this project done. But Kyle's here for any questions you might have.
Okay, questions at this time? Of course.
I've got some more questions. So on the other side of Ford's Furniture, I have had some folks from that neighborhood asking me about turning that middle lane as an option to also turn left onto Scottsville Road, and that if they're getting, it's too short of a left-hand turn lane. So is that still possible, even though we're not going to be, widening it? Is some striping and lighting changes possible?
Yes, we will be changing that. While there won't be any construction on that approach, we will change that to dual lefts onto
Great.
Scottsville Road.
Great.
Through some striping and changing the signal heads.
And then when would they expect that to be able to be improved in that intersection?
I think you're asking about when the project will be complete?
Yeah, and then also just that intersection on the side coming out of that neighborhood.
Yeah, so we're looking for the
Wilkinson
project to
Trace.
be complete by the end of the fiscal year, so
Okay.
by the end of June.
Great.
So, yeah.
And
Thank you
Kyle,
so much.
while you're here,
Yeah.
sorry, Dave, I
Yeah,
was going to
I'm
add.
good,
The access road that's in front of, the old mall, or excuse me, was it?
Ford's
Used Hobby
Furniture.
Lobby and it's been.
Ford's Furniture.
Ford's
and through there.
Furniture. Is that access road still going to have entry and exit once we do the lane changes?
Yes, yes. So it will remain open, but we will have a right turn lane at that approach of Ashley Circle, but it would just intersect with with that right lane, that additional right lane.
Okay. I think I
You
understand.
will still have, you will still have connection to
Okay,
Ashley Circle
copy that.
through there. Mhm.
All right, thanks.
Yep, you're welcome.
Okay, no more questions at this time. Roll call, please.
Beasley Brown.
Yes.
Hill.
Yes.
Perigin.
Yes.
Bailey.
Yes.
Alcott.
Yes. Ordinance number BG 2023-3, first reading, non-binding.
Ordinance rezoning real estate. Ordinance rezoning a tract of land containing 0.166 acre from RM3 Townhouse Multifamily Residential to RM4 Multifamily Residential located at 1301 Indianola Street, presently owned by Portales Rentals LLC.
I'll move. Second.
Moved by Commissioner Hill, second by Commissioner Perigin. Mr. Mizel.
This was a 5-0 vote at Planning Commission and recommending approval. Ben Peterson is here, can answer any questions you might have on this one.
Okay, questions at this time, Commissioners? None. Roll call, please.
Beasley Brown.
Yes.
Hill.
Yes.
Perigin.
Yes.
Bailey.
Yes.
Alcott.
Yes. Municipal order number 2023-31.
Municipal order approving and authorizing conveyance of property by the Intermodal Transportation Authority, Inc. to Warren County Water District and Warren Rural Electric Cooperative Corporation.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Commissioner Perigin, second by Commissioner Beasley Brown. Mr. Mizel.
As you know, per our bond agreements on the Transpark, the bonds that we issued, we approve any land conveyance up there, and before you tonight is conveyance to Warren County Water District as well as WRECC for some land for a water tower, a tank, and as well as a substation up there for power. Meredith Rosansky is here with us tonight and can answer any questions you might have about this project, but this is to provide additional water and electric to the Transpark.
Thank you, Mr. Mizel. Questions at this time? None. Roll call, please.
Beasley Brown.
Yes.
Hill.
Yes.
Perigin.
Yes.
Bailey.
Yes.
Alcott.
Yes. Municipal order number 2023-32.
Municipal order approving a memorial area and dedicating and naming the Bowling Green East Little League Baseball Complex in honor of Rick Kelly at Kiriakis Park.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Beasley Brown, second by Commissioner Hill. Mr. Mizel.
I'm going to hand this off to Hillary Hightower, our city attorney. She's been working with Bowling Green East Little League Board. Hillary?
Thank you. Mayor and Commissioners, I received an email from Chris Coron, who's with us on behalf of the Bowling Green East Little League Board. As you know, Rick Kelly passed away suddenly October of 2022. He had coached for over 40 years, according to the board, spent countless hours, money, time, commitment to BG East. And so the board met and was trying to find a way to honor that legacy. Chris said that the board, basically the fields are named after people, the facilities are named after people. And so their idea was to take the baseball area of Kiriakis Park and name it the Bowling Green East Little League Rick Kelly Baseball Complex. They also would like to put a memorial in the area between the where the concessions and the restrooms are. Kids hang out there and watch baseball games all the time, so they feel like that would be a really good place to place a memorial to honor him. So Chris is here. Steve Wilson is here. If you have any questions, he's happy to come up and speak. Longtime friend and coach with Rick Kelly. And Rick Kelly's daughter, Caitlin Kelly Davis, is here with her children, 2 of which play now, I think, at Little League East. Getting ready to. Okay, they've been there since birth. So, so if you have any questions, I think Steve or probably Caitlin would be happy to come up.
I'm going to make a comment and maybe a quick question. I think it's just wonderful that you all are doing this for Rick and honoring his 40 years. And didn't he take us to the Little League like 3 times? Yeah, that's pretty amazing. And I can't imagine any community can say that. Very few could probably say that. But do you have an idea what the memorial is going to look like?
When the board met, I think the anticipation, and Ms. Hightower touched on it briefly, any night you drive by in the spring and summer, there's a large gathering area between the concession stand, the two fields, and the batting cage. I think what we are hoping to do, and this will be obviously with no cost to the city, the money's there to do it. I think we're looking towards doing sort of a bronze relief, sort of a marble pedestal, something of that. That way, when kids are there, they'll be able to read about the contributions that Rick provided to the league, and it'll be very subtle and tasteful, but it'll be a permanent reminder of Rick's 40-plus years of contributions to BGE. So it is, we've been contemplating it for a while, bouncing around some different ideas, and we think this, for the long-term purposes to honor Rick, would be the most appropriate.
That sounds perfect. Hope to see his grandkids there at the Little League World Series one day, too.
Absolutely.
Thank you all for doing that.
Absolutely. Any other questions I can answer for anybody? on behalf-
Judge Coron, Judge Wilson, thank you all so much for being here, for supporting this. We know this is near and dear to your heart, to the Kelly family. Thank you. Hey, boys, want to stand up and say hello? Hi, guys. Future big leaguers right there. Going to take us to the next one.
Absolutely.
Well, this is exciting, and it's nice to honor a legacy that has done so much for the city of Bowling Green and for Little League. I remember I was in Ramstein, Germany, and the year that we went, or I was there, their Little League went, Bowling Green was there, and I was like, this is just unbelievable to have two minor leagues that I knew exactly where they were and where they're from and who was coaching, and that was pretty special.
Well, and once we get the design, we will make sure we forward it to the city commission and you, Mr. Mayor, for your review, and I think you'll be pleased with the outcome. And to kind of put in perspective how long Rick's contributions were to the Bowling Green East Little League, your city manager and I both were players when Rick was coaching in the Little League. So,
It's a testament.
A long time.
I would just like to thank Caitlin for sharing her father with our community, and the grandsons, thank you for sharing your grandfather with us. And to you all, thank you for sharing a dear friend with our community. Our community wouldn't be what it is today without his guidance and his sight for the future. So thank you so much.
All right. Commissioners, let's make this official. Roll call, please.
Beasley Brown.
Yes.
Hill.
Yes.
Perigin.
Yes.
Bailey.
Yes.
Alcott.
Yes. Municipal Order Number 2023-33.
Municipal order authorizing the submission of an application to the U.S. Department of Transportation, Rebuilding American Infrastructure with Sustainability and Equity Program, funds in an amount up to $1,800,000.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Beasley Brown, second by Commissioner Hill. Mr. Mizel.
So this is a fairly new program. It's called the Rebuilding American Infrastructure with Sustainability and Equity, or RAISE, R-A-I-S-E grant. We are proposing to apply for $1.8 million, and this is a collaborative effort between us and the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet, WKU, and the MPO. And what we would like to do here with this money is plan a intersection improvement at University Boulevard, Russellville Road. There where PFT is, and the Egypt Lot, and McNeil School, Creason. As you know, that's like a 5-legged spaghetti junction right now. A lot of traffic accidents occur there, if I'm not mistaken. But there's excitement here. If we could get this grant, and we go a long way toward improving congestion there. You wouldn't be sitting at the light, less idling, reduce vehicle emissions, improving bicycle and pedestrian facilities, improving the safety, encouraging alternate transportation modes to the schools and residential development in WKU. So this is an exciting project. In your packets is the map showing kind of a tentative schematic drawing of what it could look like. And Nick is here. I believe I saw Nick. Can't see him behind the podium, but he's here, can answer any of your questions you have on this, this application.
Mr. Mizel, commissioners?
Nick, I'm not gonna just say, I'm excited about this, Mr. Meisel and Nick, because it's going to expand, not just of what you mentioned, but Russellville Road. And I see where it's also gonna replace one of the CSX bridges, I believe, so make it better. And hopefully, I hate to say this, but hopefully one day, I know that they're gonna have a stop, you know, for Amtrak, and having that replaced, hopefully one day we can get a stop here in Bowling Green. But having the congestion, because we know that's one of those biggest things here in Bowling Green that we can't get around. You guys mentioned Scottsville Road earlier. Man, you stand in there for almost like 30 minutes. It's almost like big city driving there, even though we're a small city. But Nick, congrats, always trying to get us these grants so we can have our people to you know, be successful and also get around a little bit quicker.
I just want to echo my thanks. I'm really excited about this opportunity. I know when we have had discussions around this intersection and hoping that would ever kind of go up the list in state funds to improve it, it's just such a big project and so many moving parts, including the railroad, that it seemed like an impossible dream. So this is really exciting that we found this potential grant to make this happen. So is this money dependent on CSX being able to collaborate with us on this project, or have we already had conversations with them and that's confirmed, or?
Yeah, so several years ago, there was a in-depth planning study that was done by Stantec, a consulting firm out of Louisville that the state paid for. And as part of that study, there was a lot of coordination that went in with CSX. But of course, if we get this grant, a whole lot more coordination would have to occur between the city, the state, WKU, and CSX. So.
Yes, well, it's so exciting, especially, I know we've had, several pedestrians hit on this area, WKU students, so thinking about the improvements for safety for everyone involved. And then, like Commissioner Bailey said, the traffic flow in this area, it's really exciting. So thank you all so much for helping to improve quality of life in these ways that just will last for generations to come.
All right, thank you, Nick. Thank you, commissioners. Really incredible work that's going on in this, and it's incredible that we can get a grant of that size, Nick. You've worked your magic in spades, so thank you. Roll call, please.
Beasley Brown.
Yes.
Hill.
Yes.
Perigin.
Yes.
Bailey. Alcott.
Yes. Municipal order number 2023-34.
Municipal order authorizing the submission of an application to the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet for Transportation Alternatives Program funds in the amount of $422,755.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Commissioners Perigin, second by Commissioner Beasley Brown. Mr. Mizel.
I'd like to apply for this Transportation Alternatives Program grant, TAP grant, for $422,755. It's got an 80-20 match. We would need to match with $105,689. And if we were to get this grant, we would like to use it to extend the greenways path behind Jennings Creek Elementary. Right now, it cuts off, and what this would do would continue the 10-foot greenways path the east side of the existing Jennings Creek connection, and it would go over 1,700 feet, extending toward Green Hill Street, cross over Veterans Memorial Lane. There would be a traffic light there once we get this done, signalized intersection, into the new development called the Keystone Commons, and then from there on to Hickory Street. 10-foot path would continue all the way to the existing single-family residence, which I think is, what's the name of that one? Spring Hill. Thank you, Brent. And so this is a great project, would end up connecting Jennings Creek Elementary to Moss Middle School to Warren Elementary, and probably almost to Warren Central. I'm not sure, but about 1,700 feet of greenway, and a great project. Nick is here again, can answer any questions on this one.
I had one question about the signaled intersection, about what type of signal that would be across Veterans Memorial for the pedestrian,
It'd be a traffic light.
a traffic light, okay.
We are also working on a street extension there. We'll be bringing that to you soon. I think it's the Green Hill Street there that connects across from the Hickory Street that would connect with the Veterans Memorial. Another exit for Whispering Hills.
Fantastic that it's continuing this green path and connecting the paths that are already in existence, because they're wonderful trails. They truly
There's
are.
sorry, Mayor. There is a map in your packets that shows you the kind of the snake-like shape of it that gets it over to the Loop Avenue, Loop Drive.
Commissioners, any other questions this time? All right. None. Roll call, please.
Beasley Brown.
Yes.
Hill.
Yes.
Perigin.
Yes.
Bailey.
Yes.
Alcott.
Yes. Municipal order number 2023-35.
Municipal order accepting and adopting the Bowling Green Fire Department Policy and Procedures Manual dated February 2023.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Perigin, second by Commissioner Hill. Mr. Mizel.
Time to time, our police department and our fire department need to revise some of their policies and procedures. Before you tonight is the one for our fire department. Chief Brooks got stuck out of town and could not make it. Pinch hitting for Chief Brooks is Deputy Chief Brett Smith. And so we put a good summary in your packets of a lot of it's just admin type cleanup changes that just needed updating, but there's a summary in your packet that explains each section, the changes that were incorporated into those. Aaron Holsey, our HR director, has also reviewed this and made sure it all syncs up with our city personnel policy manual. And so I think we're all set. Everything looks good, and just need your approval tonight to update the fire department's policy and procedures manual.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mizel.
You have a red line version in your packets of all the changes.
Questions at this time? Roll call, please.
Beasley Brown.
Yes.
Hill.
Yes.
Perigin. Bailey.
Yes.
Alcott.
Yes. Municipal order number 2023-36.
Municipal order accepting a donation from Logan Aluminum for Duncan Hines Days.
So move.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Hill, second by Commissioner Beasley Brown. Mr. Mizel.
As you have heard, we've got Duncan Hine Days here coming up pretty soon. We have Talia Butler here with us tonight, our downtown development coordinator. She and others have been busy going around trying to get donations to pay for this big festival that's going on, and Logan Aluminum thankfully has stepped up and offered a $10,000 donation for the city to put on the Duncan Hines Days. And I'd just like to ask Talia to come on up and maybe give a quick update on how we're doing with the planning and how things are going, getting ready for Duncan Hines Days. Talia?
A little short. It's great to be here. Thank you all so much. So far, the steering committee for Duncan Hines Days has been fundraising for this whole week-long festival of events, and we're up to, I believe, almost $75,000 in secured commitments for events happening throughout the entire week. March 24th will be the day to watch for a full public announcement of the concert lineup for our Circus Square Park free concert. I won't say who it is yet, but March 24th, put it in your calendars, watch for it. And we've got events happening all over the city, not just downtown, plus a restaurant week. And we are so glad that Tyson, Houchins Food, and Logan Aluminum have now come on as the major sponsors for this. Go to DuncanHinesDays.com for the full event roadmap to follow. So, any questions?
And sounds fantastic, Talia, and I know this is a big resurgence of, the past and trying to bring some special tourism to Bowling Green that capitalizes on our past, so thank you.
Talia, I want to echo that. Just making Bowling Green a little bit bigger and make sure it's a tourism thing. You're making sure that you're bringing an act that you haven't announced, but you're going to tell us on March 24th, and I would love to know who it is. But just to make sure that we're keeping those tourism dollars, because we know how having that to help out cities. You see what happens in Louisville, you see what happens in Nashville, and when you keep people here and you have for them things to do, they're going to spend more money here. So congrats making it more successful than it was in the past.
Right, commissioners, let's accept this money. Roll call, please.
Beasley Brown.
Yes.
Hill.
Yes.
Perigin.
Yes.
Bailey.
Yes.
Alcott.
Yes, and thank you, Logan Aluminum. Municipal order number 2023-37.
Municipal order approving the reappointment of Dr. Harold Little to the Bowling Green Warren County Regional Airport Board.
So moved. Second.
That was moved by Commissioner Perigin, second by Commissioner Beasley Brown. This is a continuation of recognizing Dr. Harold's work, Little, for his work on the Bowling Green Board for our Warren County Regional Airport. And Susan Hansen has been doing a great job with them, and just want to accolade their work as a government within a government, that we are lucky that we have a regional airport that provides for our community and has an airport for our community. But we do appoint for that board, and I'd like to continue to nominate Dr. Harold Little for his work. Okay, no questions, roll call, please.
Beasley Brown.
Yes.
Hill.
Yes.
Perigin.
Yes.
Bailey.
Yes.
Alcott.
Yes, municipal order number 2023-38.
Municipal order approving and authorizing the mayor to execute a motorcycle lease agreement with Motor Sports of Bowling Green, Inc. for lease of 4 standard police package Harley-Davidson motorcycles in the sum of $1 each.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Perigin, second by Commissioner Beasley Brown. Mr. Mizel?
It's hard to believe this is the 19th year of this program. Going back to Mr. Cornelius Martin, who had the idea of giving the city police department 4 motorcycles a year to use and ride for $1 each is just unbelievable. He was an unbelievable man, successful businessman, and just want to thank the Martin family still again for continuing this program. Before you tonight is just another re-up renewal for motorcycle leases, 4 motorcycles, $1. We upfit them to our standards and put them out on the road. And Chief Delaney is here with us tonight, can answer any questions you might have on this. But 19 years, and very, very thankful to the Martin family for continuing this tradition that their father, grandfather started. So
I'm going to echo what you
he was
just
a great
said-
man.
What you just said, that, the Martin family has given back so much to this community, whether the motorcycle program, the Athena program, several things that they do each year that they've done for years and years, and what an incredible family and legacy to their dad. And those motorcycles are beautiful. They really are pretty. They're not slighting you at all. Those are nice ones.
Well said. Roll call, please.
Beasley Brown.
Yes.
Hill.
Yes.
Perigin.
Yes.
Bailey.
Yes.
Alcott.
Yes. Ordinance number BG 2023-2 is our second reading, is binding.
Ordinance amending Code of Ordinance. Ordinance amending Articles 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, and Appendix A of the zoning ordinance for the city of Bowling Green, Kentucky, as recommended by the City County Planning Commission.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, this moved by Commissioner Perigin, second by Commissioner Hill. This was a 5-0. There was a lot of significant changes that we discussed at the last Board of Commission. Unless there's any new discussion or questions at this time. Okay, roll call, please.
Beasley Brown.
Yes.
Hill.
Yes.
Perigin.
Yes.
Bailey.
Yes.
Alcott.
Yes. Okay, Mrs. Jackson, please check for,
We're actually going to go into a work session.
go into our work session immediately? Okay. Then we
We'll
stay
do the public
after?
comments after. Yes,
Okay.
sir.
All right. I know we have one person that wanted to distribute some cookies. Can we just do that during the break? Well, we had Commissioner Parrish just step out for a second. We'll wait. Sorry, Jennifer. What's wrong with cookies?
So before we get into our presentation, to follow up from our January 19th Board of Commission special retreat, you all had asked us to follow up with a work session on our proposal of our 5 and 10-year plan. And so before we start that, I'd like to show you a video clip.
The heart of service begins in your community.
Sorry, it worked earlier. Let me go back and try it.
The heart of service begins in your community. Be the reason. Be the difference. By saving and protecting our neighbors with integrity and respect. We're always serving. We're always leading.
You can downgrade on you, flow of traffic. Fire's out this time.
Join us today and make your community better.
That's our new recruiting videos we're going to be using for our police and fire departments. Just wanted to preview those to you tonight as we get into our presentation. This community is founded, based, solidified, anchored by these two departments. As I say all the time, we don't have a community without a good public safety. It all builds from there. They're our foundation. And so as you hear Katie and I present tonight, keep in mind that it all starts with our public safety, and everything builds upon that. So this slide we're going to start out with is what we want to show you is our local tax dollar allocations. Everywhere our tax dollars go based on the service. This is just all the functions that our city services include to provide services for 75,000 residents over 42 square miles with 500 plus full-time employees, half of which again are made up of our police and fire departments. This slide here is something you all asked us to do starting back in January 19th at the retreat, is to educate the public on how we use a tax dollar. And this is just a $1 bill that we slice up into cents. And as you see, 49 cents goes to public safety, 17 cents on average goes to public works, 14 to Parks and Rec, 13 cents to general government, and then the 7 cents goes to Neighborhood and Community Services Department. We have tried very hard to provide good services for a long time, but there is a cost to doing business. As you know, every service offered to the community has a cost, and that cost has increased over time. To maintain physical sustainability for the future, we've got to find a way to continue to provide those services at the lowest appropriate and possible cost that we can. We've got to keep investing in infrastructure, and we've got to keep improving quality of life here in Bowling Green. So, at the 119-23 BOC retreat, we went over the strategic plan, and under one of those pillars is the efficient governance pillar. And under that pillar, one of the actions states, examine projected revenues and projected expenditures to determine if revenue growth at the current rate will adequately support the delivery of future demands on city services, and thoroughly examine the impact of various revenue scenarios on the city's finances. A second piece of that was to develop a robust 10-year financial and development strategy in support of economic development expansion. So, to fulfill that, those two actions in the strategic plan, my staff, department heads, senior management, we got together, and we asked our department heads to look out 5 and 10 years into the future and to tell us, what do you think your department is going to need in the next 5 to 10 years to meet the demands and to provide the services to upwards of 90,000 people that we are expecting to be at by the year 2032. So, based on what those reports showed, to continue the successes we've experienced the last 10 to 15 years, continue providing the same services to a growing city, we have realized that there are going to be greater financial needs. And to continue with fiscal sustainability means we need to be able and willing to generate the necessary inflows of resources that are necessary to honor our current service commitments and to meet the financial obligations of the city that come due, whether that be debt service, whether that be payroll, whatever that might be, agency allocations, you name it. The list goes on and on. Revenue growth by varying options is a vital component of managing the physical integrity of the city's budget. The city's been fortunate, though, to deliver these means without raising taxes since 2003. So this is a pretty good track record that we've been able to sustain, but we just don't think we can do it indefinitely. Anticipating the impacts of the next 10 to 20 years with the community growth and the prosperity requires foresight in making decisions today that support fundamental obligations of the city into the future. I'd like for someone to give me the name of a business or organization that has not raised their prices in the last 20 years. I could not think of any. That is our current situation. We have been living with the same tax rate now since 2003. We haven't raised a rate since 2003. We had a 1.5 in 2003 that we raised to 2%. Shortly after that, in 2007, we decided that's too high. We need to lower it. We lowered it to 1.85%. We've been at that 1.85% now for 15 years. During that 15 years, we've had a recession. We've had ups and downs with the economy. We have issued bonds for a trans park. We have issued bonds for a ballpark. We have issued numerous debt obligations to keep things running here. We built a fire station during that time with some debt, and we've done all we feel we can with the 1.85%. We are a growing city. People say, "Well, don't you have enough growth, to manage that?" And occupational tax is one of the most volatile income taxes or taxes there are, because we saw what happened with the recession back in 2008 to 2011. We took a dip. We saw what happened during COVID when businesses were closing. We took a dip in the revenues. So it's very volatile. And so looking ahead, looking at our needs with public safety, we need more officers. We need more firemen, firefighters. We're getting ready to add Station 8. We need more people everywhere to just cover what we're doing now. And people say, well, have you ever considered looking at, cuts? Have we made any cuts? Are there any areas we can be leaner at? Of course, there always is, and we look at that every year during budget. But since 2008, when the occupational license fee or license tax was reduced from 2% to 1.85%, we had the Great Recession impacting revenue generation from 2008 to 12, as I mentioned. This forced us to reduce expenditures, and we did that. We even laid off people during that time. It was hard, but we had to do it. With personnel as a large expenditure, we've been trying to reorganize any chance we get when people retire. We've combined positions. Katie's position was a combination. My old position long ago was combined position. We've done it over and over. And between 2006 and 20, we removed 34 full-time positions and 70 part-time positions from the budget. And we managed to compound savings of about $15 million during that period between 2006 and 2020. So we have made cuts, and we made them over and over again. Other reductions we've made, reduced operating budgets by nearly $5.4 million over a 3-year period by just putting off capital needs, maintenance to buildings and parks. And we've seen that, we've been trying to catch that up over the last couple of years as we can. Employee development was reduced. We cut training to the bone. We cut travel for a year or two for people to get certifications. Put that on hold. We cut out coffee, food at meetings, memberships, association memberships for a couple years to get by. From 2009 to 2019. We were able to refinance 11 debt issuances, and we saved $7.3 million over a span of time that will span us through 2038. And so all that refinancing, we captured better interest rates. Capital projects and purchases, as I mentioned, were deferred to later years. And we even cut, CIP, capital improvement projects for several years in the general fund back in 2008 through FY10 and FY11. Those were some lean years. In FY08, we went to zero in capital on the general fund. FY11, we were only at $564,000 in capital from the general fund. And then again, when COVID hit, we reduced it to $1.2 million in FY21. So we have made cuts, and we've done the best job I think we could have over the last 15 years with the 1.85%. I'm going to hand this off now to Katie, and Katie's going to talk about inflation and what we're facing in various categories as far as cost increases and inflation. Katie?
Good afternoon. Again, referring back to our January 19 work session where we started to talk about this issue, you had all kind of indicated, well, show us some proof, give us some examples. So this is strictly the general fund, and this is taking from 2013, fiscal year 2013 to fiscal year 22. This is information that is currently contained in our audit, so you can go back and find these numbers again, and you can see that every single one of our service areas have increased in cost. Parks and Recreation, the increase seen there is probably primarily due to golf and aquatics being moved under Parks and Recreation from an enterprise fund now under general fund. That took place in 2015, but it has also increased above that. And then agency services, that seems like a gigantic increase, 451%. It's a little misleading, but I do want to point out that all of the agencies we currently fund, there are 10 eligible agencies that receive funding currently. Prior to 2018, those agency funding were incorporated in some of these other service areas. So as an example, the Planning Commission used to be considered under our general government, and airport and transit services were previously considered under Public Works. The Hobson House and Operation Pride were previously considered under Parks and Recreation, and then our Economic Development Authority funding was previously included under Neighborhood and Community Services. So in 2018, we actually decided to ungroup those items from all these other service areas and put them under their own service area. So that's why you see 451% increase from 2013 to 2022. But as mentioned, regardless of that increase, all of those categories were previously under the other categories, but they are still reflecting increases, even though funding had been removed from there. So the area shown in gray is the city limits of Bowling Green, and just since 2003, we've grown by 16.1%. And obviously, this is the area that is patrolled by police, serviced by 7, soon to be 8 fire stations, and maintained by Public Works. And they have to go from one end of the city all the way to the other end of the city. A lot of our facility locations are strategically located within the city, but there are still empty miles going from one place to the next when they have to travel. So we want to point that out as well. And then the decennial census population, Jeff mentioned previously, we went back to 1950, and all of the decennial census populations all the way to 2020. The growth rate on that is approximately 2.2% year over year for the city of Bowling Green. And if we considered that moving into the future, by 2030, we would be probably near 90,000 people. The 2022 estimate is not yet out, but the 2021 census estimate for population is 73,529. And already, with this population growth in just the last few years, the last 10 years, if you will, we've already experienced a much greater demand for services such as public transit, affordable housing, improved roadways, and then interconnectivity from sidewalks and greenways to expand our infrastructure within neighborhoods, get them to commercial, retail locations within the city. All of those items also come with pretty big price tags. So again, wanted to provide you some very specific examples. So we picked out a few of our commodities, and in just 1 to 2 years to just 6 months, these are reflective increases that our budget has experienced. So the de-icer is just a 1-year change. So from FY22 to FY23, it's up 45.05 cents per ton. So that's an increase of over 47.7%. I'm not going to talk about all of these, but obviously concrete and asphalt, 2 other main categories that we spend money on. And so our 2023 bid for concrete was up to $51,151 over the prior year. So that's 93% increase in just 1 year. Paying for asphalt, the per ton cost there increased by $57.36 in just 1 year. So from FY22 to FY23, an 85% increase. And obviously, the more these 2 categories cost, the less that the city can actually do to for resurfacing, repaving of streets, and/or building or repairing sidewalks and curb and gutter and all of those things. A few more commodity options. Just tonight, you approved the bid on pool chemicals. That's up over $24,500 from the prior year. Fertilizer is up over $11,400, and that actually goes back to FY21, so it's 21 to 22 comparison. We're expecting that cost for 23 to go up even more. That bid, I think, has come in, but we haven't yet had that. Did we take that before the board? Not yet. So that hasn't come before the board yet on fertilizer. So we are anticipating a larger increase for FY23. Patrol vehicles, one of our more vital pieces of equipment that we have for public safety. Again, this is just the 1 year 22 to 23 increase, but if we go back to FY21, we're over $10,400 more per vehicle. We purchase 12 to 15 vehicles per year. And that's not including the upfitting that's involved with all those vehicles. So even those costs have increased. And then, of course, we've got turnout gear, which is another important tool for our fire department. Utilities, this is only a 6-month change. So when we compared the FY22 first 6 months of the fiscal year to the FY23 first 6 months of this fiscal year, it's up 10%. On top of that, the utilities tend to want to charge us for fuel. And so there's a fuel adjustment rate, which is up 92.8% since 2020. Now I want to talk a little bit more specifically about the services that the city provides. So our vehicles and equipment are serviced by our fleet division, and the amount of equipment that they are now servicing is up 77.5%. So we went from 316 vehicles in FY23, vehicles and equipment, to 561. So we have added, obviously, to our fleet. This allows us to provide services more efficiently, more effectively, but obviously all of this equipment must be maintained on an annual basis and periodic replacement. An important piece to me, business registrations, because that brings in our revenues. This has also gone up pretty considerably, and in comparison to our population growth is very similar in that growth rate of around 24% for the population. We're at 25.9% for new business registrations in the last 10 years. And then also for our HR department, internally job applications being processed. So we are still receiving applications, although maybe not as many as we used to for several of our positions, but they still have to be, all of those have to be processed. We very specifically wanted to look at the 911 service calls over the past 10 years, so those are up nearly 20% from 2013 to 22. But then also I wanted to kind of reflect more of what the police department does. So we provided you with a couple graphics here that show the calendar year 2022 activity by certain categories of the police department, and then very specifically kind of honing in on traffic citations, because that's important, obviously, to our community, and making sure that we're keeping speeds down in areas and not running red lights and disregarding stop signs, that type of thing. So I wanted to point that out. Obviously, there's a whole 50% of that pie that's a lot of different traffic citations, but we wanted to identify those. And then for fiscal year 2022, we had a total number of police calls. So this is not just 911, but calls for service that come in. 911, however, takes up 46% of that number. So nearly half of that 160,000 is 911 calls. Again, looking at some of our key services that impact economic development, residential development, our building and electrical and code compliance inspections are up 64%. So over 7,800 additional inspections are taking place in that 10-year period. And then building permits, again, impacting the ability for developers out there to quickly move on projects, get construction started, get projects done. That's up 102%. The number of sidewalk miles that we maintain by the Public Works Department. So we have a new sidewalk program. So we're adding sidewalks every year. But not just that, we're also accepting new subdivisions within our sidewalk maintenance. And so that is up over 113% in just those 10 years. And then the soccer fields maintained. We decided to expand our soccer field complement by adding to the Premier Grounds at Preston Miller. So that's 8 additional soccer fields that we added in 10 years, in addition to the Lovers Lane location and the Foundry, which is not currently in play, but we're looking at some ideas there to replace it. Now to our other very important area in public safety. Fire accident runs are up 17%. Fire investigations are up nearly 90% in the 10-year period. But we also wanted to point out some very positives. The fact that our fire department can respond 90% of the time in 6 minutes and 31 seconds saves property value. And so we identified, the fire department put this information together for 2022. We've saved over $211 million in property value because of the fire department's ability to respond quickly and get fires out, take care of what needs to be taken care of in a short amount of time. And of course, we have the additional fire station coming at the Trans Park. That will hopefully just add to the ability to continue this saving property value for people out there that are impacted by the worst day they've probably ever experienced. And then we're able to at least save them some of their value. We also wanted to look at benchmarking with other cities, similar to Bowling Green. And you can see here that we chose some very specific financial indicators that we could look at, and we did them based on per capita, so based on our population to try and equalize this information as much as possible, and very specifically looking at their general funds compared to our general fund. So general fund expenditures per capita shows that Owensboro operated with the lowest general fund cost in FY22, but Bowling Green was only $48 behind that. So we were right there in that category. I think that shows that we really are making every effort to provide our services at the lowest appropriate cost possible. And Jeff just pointed out we are half their land area because they are landlocked by the Ohio River. General fund revenues per capita show that Bowling Green is kind of in the middle of the group. And then Bowling Green has the lowest outstanding debt per capita. And obviously we have been able to do that by not financing and paying cash as much as possible using general fund operating revenues each year. We're not having to tap into fund balance very often. We pre-save for a lot of our capital projects. We've been doing that pretty consistently since 2009. And so this metric really is, I think, reflective to how Bowling Green is also the largest city among this group. Our population at almost 73,000 is significantly more than each of these other communities. Covington comes in the closest at about 40,000. So again, and Owensboro obviously is a little over the 55,000 mark, but these are our neighboring communities, and so they're good references for us to look at. Jeff mentioned that we are in need of additional positions, and we did talk to you about a 10-year staffing plan at the January 19th work session that we had. So this is just really looking at the next 5 years. And over that next 5 years, we have 70 full-time positions in police and fire that we would need to add to our budget. And over the past 20 years, we have actually increased police and fire by 101 full-time positions. Where we had previously eliminated non-public safety positions, we have consistently added public safety positions to our complement. But again, looking ahead, we're looking at approximately 70 full-time positions between police and fire. And obviously for fire, one of the biggest things is the Trans Park Fire Station and getting that staffed up to where it needs to be. And then also looking at their national NFPA 1710 standards, where we have enough people per truck to meet those 2 in and 2 out safety requirements that are out there. And again, another piece of perspective here, these costs that are identified up here are based on the proposed FY24 wages, fringe, benefits, the upfitting costs and ongoing costs that are associated with those positions. So obviously over $110,000 per sworn position, depending on whether it's fire or police. Police obviously also has the addition of a patrol vehicle. Fire trucks are not any less expensive, but we buy one and it serves the entire station, so we don't have to have them per person, per position. And we do have the take-home fleet for the police department. So those vehicles are assigned per person. They don't hot seat those vehicles, meaning they don't share those vehicles with anyone else on any other shift. That is that officer's vehicle. We do that, again, to get the vehicles out within the community and to provide that community awareness that the police department is out there and supporting our city. What you see in the blue boxes, again, are considered the national averages, particularly for police. They want 2.4 positions per 1,000 in the population. Currently, Bowling Green is at 1.8 positions per 1,000 in the community. And for fire trucks, again, the NFPA standard for 1710 is 4 crew member, 4 firefighters per truck. And right now, we're at 3 to 1, where we have 8 stations and that have 3 to 1, and we have 10 trucks. Now, there are a couple crews at some of those stations, so there's more than one crew at some of those stations, which helps to make this work. But when we send out a crew, we have to send out 2 trucks to make sure we have the standard of the 2 in and 2 out covered. So again, behind the industry standards, which are based on population and safety protocols. Now I want to look at the non-public safety positions. Again, this information was presented to you in a 10-year staffing plan. And as Jeff had previously mentioned, we have eliminated 34 full-time positions. We've been fortunate to be able to add just a handful of those back, primarily in Public Works. He mentioned we had to lay off some positions. We've been able to bring those positions back. And several other positions ended up being reorganized or recategorized to reduce costs associated with them when we were able to bring them back. But we've not been able to recapture all of the lost positions, and there is a growing need to address areas which have fallen below standards. One example, which is kind of forefront right now in dealing with new subdivision development inspections, we're just not able to adequately do those inspections to make sure that before the city takes over the maintenance of these new subdivisions, that everything is built to our standard, because we don't have the manpower to be on site the entire time they're laying all of the pipes and doing all of the construction underground, that once it's done, we can't see. So we have found some of our developments probably weren't constructed to the standard they need to be. And so now our Public Works Department is having to deal with making repairs, fixing situations that shouldn't have been that way to begin with. So when you're thinking about the first year cost of all these additional positions, in addition to a COLA, in addition to our STEP program, and in addition to making pay adjustments for police and fire to help with recruitment and retention, we're looking at $9.4 million in first year cost. That's if we approved all of these positions for that first year. Personnel costs compound, they're ongoing, annual, every year. So it's important that we have sustainable growth, particularly in our occupational fee, because we like to look at our largest revenue source to cover our largest expenditure, and that's the occupational fee, and that's personnel costs. So when you're looking at both of those two categories, just to produce $1 million of new revenue takes 1.6% growth in the occupational revenues. That's based on our FY22 actual collections. So if you think about $9 million, we would need to have a growth rate of nearly 14.5% in our occupational fee to cover that $9 million and have that growth rate continue to cover all of the compounding costs of that, in addition to covering additional personnel in the future. In the past 20 years, going back to FY 2003, when we did increase the occupational fee, there were only 2 years in which our growth rate exceeded 15%. That was fiscal year 2004 and fiscal year 2005. Since that time, there have only been 2 years beyond those 2 years that were actually double-digit growth. So that was FY 2017 and just last year in FY 22. In 10 years of the last 20, our revenue growth came in less than 5%. And in a few years during the recession, it was negative. Now, obviously, the city is going to continue to seek grant funding utilizing the COPS grant program for police officers and the SAFER grant program for firefighters. And in fact, I think we will be having an application for submission for SAFER to help assist in the cost of 15 new firefighters over a 3-year period, coming to you probably next meeting. But as we experienced this last year, those grants are not a guarantee. We applied for the COPS grant last year for 4 positions, and we applied for 8 positions under the SAFER grant. We were not awarded either one of those last year. So there is no guarantee that we can get that funding, yet we still have a need for the additional staffing, which remains the same. Now, if we were to subtract the new positions and just look at COLA, the STEP increase, and the pay adjustments for police and fire, that number is $5.2 million for fiscal year 2024. So again, if we don't approve all of the positions and we rely on getting the grant funding, you have already given your preliminary consensus to provide the COLA at 6.5%, a STEP increase, and then doing these pay adjustments for both police and fire in this next year. And I am going to turn it back over to Jeff.
We're almost finished. So this shows you how critical withholdings and net profits, our occupational tax is at 67.7% of our general fund budget. Property taxes come in at 18%. You've got grants up there at 6.6. Insurance premium taxes are about 3. Everything else is about 5%. So this revenue is significant. It's all we have in Kentucky. You can't have a local sales tax option in Kentucky. It just doesn't exist. So you either live on property taxes or you live on occupational taxes, and that's basically what we've tried to do since the beginning of time. There's no other choices. So so what we've done here is we've looked at other cities and rates. I think we showed you this at the retreat on January 19th. There are 34 other cities currently with a higher occupational tax rate than Bowling Green right now. And you see some little cities up there, Adairville with just under 1,000 people with a 2% occupational tax rate. I mean, not making fun of Adairville at all, but you know, I mean, just look at the population and look at some of the tax rates that are tied to those cities up there, and then we're the third largest city in the state, yet we're at 1.85%. So consider that. This next chart here is if we were to get you all to approve a 2% rate reset back to what we had in 2007, we think that would generate about $5 million in additional revenue per year. Something we haven't mentioned is if we go back to 2003 and we calculate the change in the tax rate, actually 2007, since 2007 when we lowered the rate, we've given back roughly $54 million to the taxpayers in occupational tax rate change. $54 million over the last 15 years that we've done without, and that's okay. It went back into the pockets of the taxpayers. So what we've done here is we've calculated what the effect would be on a 0.15% increase. And as you can see, the first one there is the $19,760. That represents the state minimum wage at $9.50 an hour. The $31,200 represents a $15 per hour wage rate, hourly rate. And then the Bowling Green median household income is the $43,633. And so you're looking at $2.52 per paycheck on 26 paychecks a year biweekly for that one. And then you can see what it does to $50,000, $75,000, and $100,000 salary ranges. In contrast to the occupational tax, if we were to monkey with the property tax, raising the property tax by an additional flat fee of, say, $75 would only generate $1.7 million compared to $5 million. And that would only impact 23,000 property owners, many of whom are senior citizens on fixed income. And so we think the occupational tax is the most fair tax there is. It's all relevant to what your gross wages represent. So moving forward, other needs we've mentioned are public transit. We do get a lot of money from the feds and the state, but we do put some of our own money in there. Economic development. In the last couple of years, we've issued since '03, we've issued $25 million for the Transpark. We issued $26 million for the ballpark, which kick-started downtown. We recently did another $46 million GO that we're splitting with the county on the Transpark for infrastructure. We split a $12 million property purchase with the county for economic development that landed in Vision in the Transpark that we split with the county. So we use tax dollars that we've invested in economic development, and it shows. It's why we're the way we are today. We're also going to continue to have to improve roads, sidewalks, greenways, parks, workforce recruitment. We've got that going on. Riverfront Park, we're going to have to use a lot of our own money if we're going to pull off that project, which we're very, very excited about. We're getting really close to naming a design firm for that. We have come to a realization that our stormwater pipe system is not very good. We're getting ready to have to tear up College Street. It had a huge blockage in it, which was causing flooding right here on the corner of 10th and College. We're getting ready to have to fix that. There's no telling what else is out there underneath, in the old pipes, underneath the streets for stormwater that we might run into. Just programs like summer camps, that will need to be expanded as we get more people. Service level enhancements all across the board. As you could see, the correlation between 911 calls was very, very close to what our population growth was. You could see what the fire runs were with medical runs, very correlated to what our population growth was, and on and on. So looking ahead, if no action is taken, city will continue to operate, but we'll just have to understand that the future outlook is not as certain as it could be. Doing nothing potentially means several things: risking fewer park amenities, after-school programs, less programming, our aging infrastructure with streets, sidewalks, stormwater, playgrounds, reducing service levels, public safety response times, longer waits at Brent's shop to get plan review, building permits, electric permits, ABC licenses, business licensing. The list is on. And I know you guys are getting worn out, but let me close with this. We don't want to go backwards. We don't want broken swing sets on the playgrounds. We don't want weeds growing up along the side of the road. We want nice roads to drive on so we don't wear out our tires. When we have an emergency, we want our police and fire to respond promptly. What we're asking for tonight, it's not for me, it's not for Katie, it's for the good of this city going forward. It's for the future mayor, it's for the future commissioners, it's for the next city manager, it's for the next CFO, it's for the next department heads. It's for the future employees to be able to operate and do their jobs well. Going back to 2% as we had 15 years ago, you ask, why now? Why now? We're doing okay. We're growing. Well, I can't sit here and do my job and bury my head in the sand and pretend nothing's going to change, because it's already changing. It's already out there. It's coming. You know the jobs that are coming. You know the people are coming to fill those jobs. Why now? Now is the perfect time to get ahead of it. The state withholding rate dropped 0.5% back January 1 of this year. They went from 5% to 4.5%. Take-home pay went up, right? That drops another 0.5% this coming January 1 of 24. We go from 4.5% to 4% on a state withholding tax. Again, more take-home pay for everybody in their pockets. All we're asking for is a 0.15% adjustment in our city occupational rate. That gets easily absorbed with the state withholding rate reduction of the 1% that they're going to be doing. We need this to sustain us for years and decades to come. It's the responsible thing to do for our successors. I really feel that way. If you were to agree to put this on an upcoming agenda, we would likely implement it January 1 of 24 to time it out with the state's next reduction for withholding taxes. On the net profit side, we would make it effective for tax years beginning after December 31st of 2023. So the first adjustment for net profit tax wouldn't fall until the following April for businesses that have a year ending in December. April of '25 would be the first impact we would see on the net profit side of the 0.15% adjustment. So I'll leave it at that. We want to put this on the table. I feel like it's my responsibility, Katie's responsibility, to show you a glimpse of what we think is out there on the horizon the next 5 to 10 years. Thank you for listening to us for the last 30, 45 minutes. We just wanted to follow this up from what you all requested from the January 19th agenda retreat, and are here to answer any questions you might have. We've got some department heads in the room as well. Thank you very much.
I'm going to start, Jeff. So if I understand you, you're asking us to put this on a future agenda with the implementation date of 1 January 24, so it'd be that after that fiscal year, people are paying their taxes, that they would see this 0.15% of a penny increase, correct?
Yes, sir. It'd be January 24 paychecks.
And effectively, they've already have increased 50 cents, or excuse me, $1 of their state withholding has come back to them.
They've gotten 0.5% back already this year, and they'll get another 0.5% back starting January of this coming next year.
Well, with that, there's a great amount of information that is, that we're just absorbing. And what I'm seeing is that there's timing that we can, you know, we're in February of 2023, you know, you have the commissioners here for the mayor for the next 2 years, but we're not, it gives us time to be able to go out and communicate to our community to let them understand, you know, the decisions we're making and why we're making the decisions. Since I've been mayor, we've been down from 19 police officers, I think it was a little bit higher for a peak, to 12 police officers today. I mean, we do not have 12 police officers, commissioners, that are out there patrolling our streets, acting to these recalls, you know, taking care of our community. And we already know that we're below the standard. And so this to me is hitting home, because that is what our government does well, that what our government has done very great in our community. But we are not giving our police officers enough manpower to be able to do their job effectively today. I know we talked about at the retreat to bring Officer R, which is, I know the chief's been working hard to implement, and Officer R is to bring some retirees that have worked on our police department, and they would be contract employees under the city to be able to help us out in our workforce. So I know we were all for that in the commission. We stated, please go forth and please do that. So what I am stating is that these things concern me. We're a growing community. I wholeheartedly concur that, you know, we need 3 new fire stations, one of them, you know, in the Trans Park now, next on the Porter Pike, and then a new fire station that is our city's growing that we've already identified. Our road improvements, people complain about it, but unless we do something about it and be proactive and spend more of our dollars towards solving these community issues, they're not going to go away. They're going to become more difficult in the future and more pricey to accomplish. And the third thing I'll state is that, you know, sidewalks and greenways, these are issues that are near and dear to making our community vibrant. I mean, these are why people are coming here to work. And then, as I have understand occupational taxes, we have put incentives to bring companies here. It takes us, from what I now wholeheartedly understand, it takes us up to 30 years to be able to get that 1.85% or 2 cents on a dollar that people pay in that occupational tax. We're, you know, the jobs are coming, but we're not receiving the benefits fast enough to keep up the government that's needed to sustain the businesses. So These are decisions that I don't enjoy making. I'm a conservative. I try to keep our government conservative. No one wants, I think, whether you're conservative or not, nobody wants to take more out of their pocket to pay taxes. I mean, we all have felt the pinch of the economy, the inflation, and I know that this is something that none of us have all stated that we're willing yet, but we're listening, and we asked you to present this to us, and so I say thank you. This is great information. I need time to be able to get this information out and communicate, where I'm standing. And I think I'm stating that I'm in favor. I am stating I'm in favor, but I need the time to be able to communicate this wholeheartedly to the community. And I see you giving us that window to be able to get this right by 1 January 2024.
We would need about 8 to 9 months to roll this out internally, because we've done it before. We've done it twice before, and a lot of tax form changes, a lot of notifications, a lot of advertising, ADP, payroll processing company, all these payroll processing companies that have our forms and rates locked into their systems. It takes a while to get the word out and get the battleship turned a little bit.
So I know you'd like to have an answer,
So
as soon as possible.
I'm not trying to rush you, but it does.
What's a reliable window that you would need to be able to implement this by 1 January 2024?
I want to defer to Katie, our CFO.
Ideally, it would help us to know in April, but we certainly can make it work with just a 6-month time period. So if we knew by June, that I think we could make that work. But 6 to 8 months is really what it takes, and you wouldn't think so because it's changing a number. But as Jeff mentioned, there are a lot of payroll service companies, tax companies out there, accountants, all of these businesses in town. Everyone would need to be notified about this change. All of our forms are also submitted to the state. The state has those forms on their website. So there's a lot of behind-the-scenes updates that we would need to do, make sure that everyone is fully informed, be able to answer questions, and help people to understand. So my outside time frame would be June.
Thank you. Done. Commissioners?
I would just like to thank you too. You delivered what we asked for during the retreat. You painted a picture of what our city could look like, what it's been looking like, what it's going to look like going forward. I'll be honest, it's a picture I wish we didn't have to see, but it's reality. So thank you so much for taking the time to put this into a presentation for us. Hope a lot of our citizens have watched it, and if not, that they'll go back and watch what's taking place in the city of Bowling Green. So thank you all so much.
Is this a presentation that we could put on our website and then have citizens contact with any questions? So they might be able to, it's much better when you have you all telling us what each slide means, and rather than just a citizen reading it, but we could also, field questions and concerns with. I'll reiterate what Melinda said. Thank you all. This was a really informative presentation and well done, and at least something to digest. And Jeff, you're right. I don't know of any business that hasn't raised their prices or their wages or anything else during this recent last couple of years that we've experienced, and we took a blow. This is a blow. Inflation is definitely, it hurts everybody.
I also want to thank you all for presenting this situation to us and our community. I definitely concur with the mayor that I know none of us ran for office planning to raise taxes, and right, we're here to be representatives of the community and to make the hard decisions that are making the best decisions we can to help making sure that we are making good financial decisions that are going to improve quality of life. And so I want to ask our community, our citizens, this is going to be a shared sacrifice that all of us make if this adjustment goes into place. And so I do encourage citizens, if they haven't watched the presentation tonight, I would encourage them to go online and watch it afterwards, look at the slides. I want to hear from our citizens. Is this something that you also believe is a hard decision, but something that collectively we are willing to do together to make sure that, when the worst thing happens, we know that our police and fire are going to be there on time and we need them, that we are going to continue to have the infrastructure that helps us get to work on time and to be able to, our deliveries to get to our small businesses and to have a thriving economy. Is this a sacrifice and investment we're all willing to make together? And so I want to ask the citizens to please let us know that. We are representatives of you all, and so we need to hear from you about, after you learn this information, what are the questions that you have, and what are you looking for to see of our city in this moment with the reality that faces us of the revenues coming in and the expenses that are on the horizon. What is the wisdom that you want to bring to the table for this moment? Because that's how we're going to make the best decision, is when we come to this moment together. And so I just want to thank you all for making that available. And I was just curious if we could, I know you all do this for things in the past where you record yourself going through the presentation, and I wasn't sure if we could possibly provide that, or if it's a way to just narrow this meeting to this just one portion of it to provide.
I feel fairly confident that Raina can just take the work session piece from this video, from this meeting video, and separate that out and have a separate link just for that presentation, so you don't have to watch the entire meeting before the work session.
That would be great.
So if you could provide that to us as soon as you can, and then I guess an attachment as well of the slides themselves, so that when we hear from folks, we can share that and make sure that we're getting all the wisdom in the room to make the best decision we can.
And for me, I want to ditto everything, but one of the questions that I have, I know that we talked about some of it goes to affordable housing, and I would like to know what percentage of that actually goes to affordable housing. Another thing that I would like to know is the stalled growth. I do believe that for businesses, they do raise, but we also seen the state government has lowered taxes as well. Like everyone else, I'm not one that wants to raise taxes, but I want to make sure that we have all the information available. We do know that we're getting those Envision jobs here, and there's thousands of jobs that's going to basically be opening up here. So my question, and kind of learning for myself and also for the public, because we're getting money from the occupational tax, does any of those jobs being filled, not the businesses, because we know we're giving them a 30-year rate, something that's going to mitigate whatever they have to pay on taxes. But those employers or those employees are still going to have to pay the occupational tax. Does that alleviate any of the budget concerns that we have? Because if it does, I don't know, even if it's at 75% or 80%, if it does alleviate it, should we be raising it, by 1.5%? And Katie, I would really appreciate you, because you've answered questions that I reached out to you. Because right now, if you're paying $25,000, and stop me if I'm wrong, please, and it's at the current rate of 1.85%, you're paying basically about $462.50 per year. So it doesn't go up that much, but if it goes up and we're raising it a little bit for the entire year, someone who's paying $25,000 is actually going to be paying about $500 per year. That's how much it gets raised. And I think that's what everyone needs to know, because that makes the dollars real. And it lets them know, okay, this $75 actually helps out. And if I'm wrong, please correct me. If you're getting paid $50,000 per year, under the current rate, you're paying annually about $925 per year. So if it's raised, and biweekly, by the way, it's like 35.58 cents on a biweekly thing. on a year, instead of $925, if there is a raise, or if we're going to raise these taxes, you're going to be paying about $1,000 per year. If it's $100,000, and you're going to be paying about $1,850 per year. If it's raised, you're going to be paying about $2,000 per year. So the reason why I asked about if those jobs that we have coming, and we do know that they're coming, and they may not be within the next 2 years, but if it alleviates some of those budget concerns, should we be raising it right now? And kind of like what Commissioner Beasley Brown said, I definitely want to hear from the public. This is on you guys. At this time, we need to hear from you so desperately because we know that inflation has impacted lives. But we also want to make sure that we have our fire department, our police department, that are there going to be answering the call. The mayor mentioned basically that it was 19, since we've been here, about 19 police officers that were not there, and now it's 12 police officers that we're down. And I need to know even for myself, are those 12 police officers because we're still trying to recruit them and hire them, or is it because we can't pay them? Because those are two different things, because if we can't pay them, we definitely need to try to make sure we mitigate and get them paid, because we're a growing city, and we want to make sure that, like the mayor has said, Commissioner Beasley Brown has said, I think Commissioner Hill has said, that they come to our doors. These are all concerns that I have before I can agree to even raising the tax rate. But I work for you guys, and I want to hear from you.
Mayor.
Well, so you've given us some work and homework, and I agree that we do need to talk to the public, but, you know, as public officials, in the end, we're going to have to make a tough call on what you think is the right thing to do. And again, I revealed my cards a little bit because I'm going to continue to tell the story that Jeff Meisel, our city manager, Katie, did such a great job in articulating. I'm going to take that to the public, and I'm going to tell people that story. And so I would appreciate, city commissioners, if you would help us do that, because our city manager has come to us with hat in hand. He's asking us to do what he believes is the right thing, and I have a lot of faith in Jeff Meisel, his team, and I know that this is a big ask, and I know that they're asking people to carry on that big ask, and that's us. So this is a leadership role that we have to work at. And so you're right, we do need to go out to the public, but we also need to tell that story and try to get the public to understand the decision that we think is at hand. And so I revealed my cards because I'm trying to show that leadership too.
And I understand that, because I felt like that was directed towards me. So I do understand that, but the thing that we always have to make sure is that we all should be asking questions. We all should basically be like, what is the bottom line, and how can we make sure that this city works? I do agree that they're the experts, but at the end of the day, we work for the people. So for me, telling those stories is very important, and I appreciate Katie, and I definitely appreciate Jeff Meisel for being here, saying the things that we need. But I also need to hear from the public. As a leader and a public official, that's what we're here for, is to hear from you guys.
Could I address just a couple of things that Commissioner Bailey had brought up? So in terms of affordable housing, currently there is no direct general fund support for affordable housing. That is all through the Community Development Block Grant Program and through HUD and any other grants that we can receive. The only general fund that currently supports our neighborhood reinvestment program is on average about $200,000 a year, and that's part of our capital program. So that very specifically in terms of affordable housing, we are not putting that money from general fund into it. So with this increase, with all of the additional jobs we're hoping to come, that is what could help support more money toward affordable housing. In terms of police, certainly I don't want to speak for the chief, but I know that he is in the process. We're doing recruitments twice a year. We're in the second recruitment for this fiscal year to be able to fill the vacancies that we have. And with the new police retiree BGPD officer program, I think he's aiming at up to 5 positions to be filled pretty quickly of those 12. And then the rest of those would be filled with this next class, hopefully. But they're going to be doing 2 recruit classes a year. So we will continually be trying to keep positions filled. And it's not that we don't have money in the budget, because we do have the money for those 12 positions. They're just currently vacant right now, so that's going into savings at the end of the year until they're filled, because we budget for an entire year for all of the complement that we have within within city staff. And then if those positions become vacant or it takes a little time to get them filled, then we capture that savings at the end of the year. And that's part of what we put toward future capital. It's not completely, but it's a portion of. And then I believe the other question, you were correct in terms of representing the increase and the actual annual costs associated with those salaries. The one benefit, obviously, with the occupational fee is that the less you are paid wages, the less you pay in the occupational fee. So it does impact everyone, but it is spread across the entire workforce that's within the city limits. And therefore, again, the less you make, the less you pay. That's why we wanted to provide you with several examples, very specifically looking at the ones that Jeff identified in terms of the hourly rate that's Kentucky state minimum, and then also, you know, the medium household income. We wanted to make sure you had that very specific information, because that is obviously an impact to everyone that would be participating in that. So the hope is, with all of the new positions, all of the new jobs that are coming our way, that will allow us to continue and increase those services, because obviously that's also going to draw more population. It's going to draw more need for services, more people coming in and out of the community and wanting to access our infrastructure and utilize our facilities. So it doesn't alleviate the need. Those positions will help deliver what we need to make the commitment to deliver, but also all of those jobs bring all of that additional population and that much more in terms of service that we need to support. So it does help, but it isn't everything. And then, as Jeff mentioned, it's so volatile. You know, today we have a fantastic outlook for new jobs, but we're also hearing about some companies here in town that are reducing their workforce currently. So all of those factors have to be taken into consideration, and I know that this is a very difficult decision for you. So we want to bring you the facts. So if you have any other questions that you would like us to respond and provide information on, please don't hesitate to reach out. We will certainly provide you with that information that you can then have available when you're talking to the rest of your constituents.
So one question I do get is, why isn't our growth and the revenue we're getting from that growth keeping up with our expensive? Why doesn't it match? And if you can provide something that we can share with the community beyond, you know, because maybe some folks don't have the 30 minutes, 45 minutes to watch the whole presentation, but if there's one piece that we can best visualize and describe that gap that you are mentioning as to why we're even having this conversation, that would be helpful, because that's most of the questions I've received or comments have been, the growth is going to take care of it.
Can I make one more comment about that? Mm-hmm. So I think the chief would back me up on this, but, you know, we talk about tourism, everyone that comes to town. We love tourism events. We love everybody that comes to Beach Bend and all these things all summer long. Who knows how many will come to the Duncan Hines, but we don't get $1 from a visit from a tourist. We don't get any sales tax money from them. We don't get any of the room tax money. Yet we may have 100 to 125,000 people in town any given day, and we have to service traffic accidents. We have traffic congestion. And so we don't get revenue from everybody coming here just to visit We only get revenue from people that come here to work. And that's fair because, you know, they're using our services. If they get involved in a traffic accident to and from work, then we're gonna help them. We're gonna take care of them. So just keep that in mind that our tax structure in Kentucky is so limited. Any tourism we get through here, it's great. We're going to be really a big tourism town. We're not getting to keep any of that money. It all goes back to the state, or it all goes back to Conventions Visitors Bureau, which is fine. That's how they operate. The only other thing I'll say, and I'll be quiet, is we're in a crunch globally labor market, okay? So when we hire someone, we're competing against the private sector. A new person comes on today, Aaron, they don't get the pension that people used to get. They get what's called some kind of hybrid. We don't match it because we're having to pay the retirement system for past sins. And so all they're stuck with is something they're putting money into. We're not matching it. They could go out in the private sector and get a 401k match and make better money, have a better retirement 401k system, and that's what we're competing against. And so when we come up to you during budget time with these salary increases and COLAs, that's for us to maintain and compete and retain employees here for the city of Bowling Green and be able to continue to do what we do. Because if we don't, they're going to leave us. It's been proven. Mike loses people all the time. Public Works loses people all the time to the private sector because of higher wages. All these jobs we hire every meeting, half of them are because people have left us for higher wages. We have to compete. If we don't compete, we might as well give it up. I mean, that's the point we're at with the labor market. This 7% COLA, this 6% COLA, it's going to continue. I'm reading articles all over the place until 2040 or better is when we might recuperate and recover from the retirements of the baby boomers. That's the situation we're in. That's the environment we're competing in going forward, and that's why we need to make sure we're in the right place, okay? We're a service organization. You saw the numbers, 60 to 65% of our budget is for payroll.
All right, thank you, Mr. Meisel. Thank you for this presentation. No further questions? All right, Ms. Jackson's going to go ahead and see if we have any citizens that want to talk. If we do, I will tell you when you're at 3 minutes, and I'll tell you when you're at 5, and that's our time for per person. All right, Jennifer, you want to come on up?
I have Valentine cookies for everybody.
You're so sweet, Jen.
Well, that's very nice of you, Jennifer.
Happy Valentine's.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I gotta talk to you. Okay, in 30 days, Women In is not gonna be no more. That means these people on Women In is not gonna have a place. So they're gonna be sleeping in the parkway and sleeping in people's, we need help. And what we should do, here's what we should do. We should, Section 8, should put the people who live in Women In to Section 8. If you don't have money to establish another homeless shelter, then do that. Make sure that these people are on the list above everybody because they're homeless and they don't have a place to go. A lot of people, what they do is they live with somebody and then they go to Section 8. That's not right. Section 8 is for people who are homeless. and it's not working. That's why it's such a huge list. And I tried to establish a homeless shelter in this town. I did, and they destroyed me. This town destroyed me, man. And I know it was my fault, but what I really wanted was help with the homeless. When Salvation Army expanded and they're cleaning up the place, okay, and they're putting the, I don't know what it's called, but they're putting a center there,
The Hope Center.
the Hope Center. It won't be done until June. What about all these people in Room in the Inn? They will need a place to go. So what we need to do is do something about Section 8. Because that's what everybody's doing. They're doing Section 8, that they're not homeless. That's not right. The people who should be in Section 8 are the ones that are rooming in. That should happen. You know, and you don't believe me, ask them. Go to Room 8 and talk to him. He's gonna, 30 days, there's gonna be no more. So we got to have figured out a plan to help these people. And also, I'm writing a book. I'm writing a book about all the evilness in this town, okay? And I'm fighting for good. I want evil to not happen, and that's crazy. But how do we fight evil? By doing good for this community, standing by the homeless people.
3 minutes, Jennifer.
Standing by the homeless people, helping the homeless. You know, that's what I mean. A lot of people, they don't think they can help the homeless. That's not true. You can give somebody a meal. You can do anything like that and help the homeless. And we have to do something about 30 days. That's it.
All right, thank you, Jennifer. All right, next we have Miss, I think it's Maisel or Marshall Beach. Come on up, sir. All right. Can you pronounce your name? I'm sorry.
Marshall Beach.
Marshall Beach. Nice to meet you, sir.
Nice to meet you. I'm just here today about the Cave Mill Road project. I live, along with my wife Kimberly, at 1231 Cave Mill Road. It's one of the locations on Cave Mill Road that is our house is very close to Cave Mill Road. It's just, I don't know how you would say, west of the Small House Road and Cave Mill Road intersection. I'm assuming that's west of it there. There's 2 houses basically on that right there. We own the second house. Our yard is approximately 30 feet right now, front yard is from the roadway. And I'm guessing maybe 11 to 15 feet you guys own the easement. I'm not going to have much of a front yard. What I'm here today for is a clarification. Which side are they going on? What are they going to be coming down to? 3 lanes, I don't know if it's going to work because I have cameras on my house and I can show calls of there's no turning there to the left coming from Nashville Road down Cave Mill Road. The cars are backed up all the way around the curve, but there's no turning. It's backed up. I don't know if a turning lane is the only solution there. Obviously, there's something that's got to be done, and I understand that. My concern is with our property, I don't have much to give without either, I'm hoping it's not going to affect my property value. I know it's going to, already regardless of what happens, I know it's going to affect the transportation, what's going to come down that road and what's not going to. If you build a bigger road, more people's going to come. I know that. But the main concern that I would have would be, it's three lane. One of them being a turning lane. I don't see that helping the traffic flow. They just had something at Small House Road, a meeting at one of the local churches, talking about possibly a roundabout at that location. I would be in favor of that because roundabouts do work that I've seen. My concern is I just need clarification. Where can I get documentation of what's going to happen to my property? Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Mr. Marshall. Next is Hannah.
Hello, my name is Hannah Barahona. I was born and raised here in Bowling Green. I'm here to speak to you tonight as a property owner, a property manager, and as a mom of 3 very small Bowling Green residents. I wanted to talk about my personal experiences with the homeless encampments in the city limits. In my capacity as a property manager, I have recently had a group of squatters to break in, actually several incidences, but in October I had a group of squatters break in and set fire to a property that was a total loss. That's being investigated by fire and police, of course. Still not resolved. And then most recently, I had a group of squatters move in to an apartment where I had a tenant with a lease agreement. He was hospitalized and then subsequently passed away in the hospital. But they moved in, and so it was a civil matter. I had to evict them. Police have been wonderful with all of the times that I've called about them. But the issue that I faced right now with these people is that they have left a disaster in the apartment. And I understand that as a property manager and an owner of investment property that it's an assumed risk that we have property damage. But this is above and beyond typical. It is, my crew is having to clean up with full Tyvek suits and masks and Kevlar gloves because of all of the used needles, pipes, powdery substance that is hazardous to them. It could be life-threatening, honestly. My eyes have been really opened in this experience. I was kind of sheltered, I guess, to this. I didn't realize how dangerous and severe that is. But so those are my personal experiences in a work capacity. And my personal experience is I live very close to Chuck Croom Nature Park, and the last year and a half we have seen encampments popping up. Police have been great, and parks have been great with removing those, getting them out of the way. But I guess my concern now as a mother is, what are my children going to be seeing playing out in the street when they're riding their bikes or in the yard? Do I need to be concerned now that they're going to find used needles like I've found in this other encampment in my rental property? And so it's, I've experienced it professionally, but now it's even closer to home. I feel like my children's safety is impacted because of that. So since I have been dealing with all this the last few months, I have been talking to everybody that I can. I've talked to people in parks, family resources from city schools, police, fire, code enforcement, and everyone I've talked to, it seems like our resources are really being overwhelmed and burdened by this issue. And so, we have great people working in all these departments, but they're spending all of their time, especially code enforcement, dealing with the encampments and parks too. Time that they could be spent, that they could spend doing other things. And I was going to say too that I have already spoken with some of you. Thank you for the time that you all gave me. Sue, I left my pitchforks and my torches at home. And I know that you all, based on the conversations that I had with you and in other, other departments of the city, that there are some ideas being discussed and maybe some solutions in the works. But I just hope that it will be addressed sooner than later. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Barahona. Our next is Angie Anderson.
I'm just here basically to kind of second what Hannah said. Mine has been more like on the commercial property side. We own a storage container business that it's located down on the corner of College and the bypass. And frequently, they will cut locks off the storage containers, move in, then of course we're left to clean everything up. Property on Clay Street that's close to Harris Lumber, where again, cut locks moved in, you know, I'm out there cleaning up needles and knives. Just kind of to second her. I just hope that this is something that I know for sure that you all know about, because I deal with codes frequently. They've been very helpful. Anytime I've ever called the police department, they have been very helpful. But again, using resources that could probably be used somewhere else. Just taking up their time to try to help deal with that. Recently, with an encampment we have that's off of Tobacco Road, down closer to the river. That day, for instance, I had 3 code enforcement officers with me, and I believe it was 2 police officers that day. You know, that they could have been doing something else. And I know it's an ongoing issue, and I feel like it's getting larger and larger. So just hopefully looking for some kind of solution that we can possibly work together as a city to come up with for that issue.
Thank you, Ms. Anderson. Our next is John Doyle.
Hello. I'm here to speak about generally the same thing. I live very close to South Campus, and in a few years that we've lived there, I've had people steal from my property, mostly bikes, things like that, from their children's stuff. I've had people walk around my house looking in windows, and fortunately I have a job where I telework, so I'm home several days of the week. But I've had people break into my sheds, and across from my property, Western has some facilities there, and it looks like people have been living in those facilities. They've been broken into. Excuse me. And so, you know, as a parent, it is a safety issue, and we all want peace of mind. And I don't feel like I have real peace of mind because I have small children, and I don't always feel safe letting them outside. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Doyle. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go to closed session, so we're going to clear the room. The meeting is adjourned at this moment. Thank you, everybody. Who's what?